Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very normal episode of Speedrunners and Coffee. Wow. So, your normal host is unavailable to host for today. I'm so sorry. Abbie had something else to do, I don't know, I didn't ask any questions. But I'm Pippi in a top hat, and I will be taking over, slowly and entirely. Abbie made great decisions in leaving me in charge. But in being in charge, I do have to introduce a guest or something. I do have to share the mic. So, oh hey, our guest is Abbie. Hi, Abbie.
Hello.
How you doing? I
I'm
was
doing.
not planning a coup.
I mean, hey, it's in a bizarre it's in a bizarre universe because anybody who's not new to the show may have recognized the voice from episode 1
We've done a
of the
flip.
show.
We've done a flip, and I've taken over. I'm so sorry. You're never getting your show back.
Oh no! If only you
Oh,
had the passwords and the ability to upload the. Oh wait, you don't.
darn it. Foiled again. But yes, I was the guest on episode 1, and back then the show did not have a name. It has a name now. It's come
Yes.
so far, and all sorts of other people were on it, but we don't care about them today. Today is about you, Abbie!
Yes, apparently. It's about me today. Oh no. Oh no.
Just so you know, the run has started. The timer's already running, but you know that because you run this show typically. So, hey, what made you pick the game you started running?
Okay,
Originally.
so a little bit of backstory because if you looked at my SRC page, you might have noticed that it says 2020 and the first run was 2021 because I was going to start running in 2020. I was originally going to run Resident Evil 3 Remake, but some things were said by someone and I got cold feet and ran away for a year and actually did an illegal Super Mario 64 run instead that does exist on the internet.
Breaking the law here?
Oh, yes. And I didn't really stick with SM64, but that also wasn't the first game. It was supposed to be RE3 Remake. Flash forward to 13 months later, and Resident Evil 8 is coming out and comes out. And I said, you know what, this time we're gonna do it. And I did it that time. Granted, not for long because of a technique that was called snow walking, which is banned and was banned fairly quickly, but I yeeted myself far too quick because I was like, there's no way I can compete with that because I was doing the PC version at the time. Because snow walking was faster than just holding forward or W if you're on a keyboard. And it was like, well, if I can't compete, there's no point in continuing, right? Because I'm a very competitive person somewhat. I mean, I don't really give a shit what my place on the board is, but I'm still competitive and would like to be competitive with friends because I'm very ingrained in the horror community, but we'll get into that. And so I
Yeah,
left it very quickly.
what was the trick? What is snow walking? What's required to use it as a movement method?
I am not 100% sure, but I believe, because again, the reason it was banned was because it was going to kill people's hands very, very quickly.
Oh no.
And from what I understand, it's something about, I think it's like rotating between W and S or something. It's rotating between two different movement types or something. I don't quite remember because, forgive me, it's been 2 years and I didn't look too much into it because I couldn't do it to begin with because I was on controller. But I know why it was banned, which was a health concern kind of thing.
We love those.
Indeed. So I left it pretty quickly and I haven't touched the game in 2 years.
That's valid though. I could imagine that would be a little bit discouraging, but hey, you stuck with speedrunning, so that's important.
Yes. Granted, I didn't do a lot of speed runs in 2021 as compared to 2022, which I'm sure we'll get to.
We'll move forward chronologically. But what were your initial goals as a speedrunner? I'm sure these questions are very unfamiliar territory to you, and you are
Um,
not intimately acquainted with them at all.
The goal originally for before the snow walking thing happened was like, I want to see if I can get to 130, because again, this was when the game was still new. I haven't looked into 8 in a very long time, so I don't know what the times are now. And also, I was doing the glitched category, which also might not exist anymore, because I think with the gold update, which included the winter's expansion, the third person mode, etc., they patched out all the glitches or all the out of bounds. I don't know, I haven't looked at the run in a while, and I have no idea how to run that game glitchless. So it was 130 at the time, just to see if I could do. That was the initial goal. I believe my time was 136, and I left quickly, so I never got to like truly test it. I also wasn't doing events or anything for all of 2021, so there wasn't like, I didn't know about the marathons or anything like that. I only knew of like GDQ. That was it. No ESA, no RTA, no ASM, no smaller events, etc. That's the only thing I knew at the time.
It seems, from what I can tell, looking at speedrun.com, that the world record for any percent is a 125. So maybe this trick still exists. I'm gonna assume to some degree that.
Maybe. I don't know how long that record was, but maybe new tricks exist or something, because again,
That is true. You never know.
yeah, because I also knew at one point FPS swapping was a thing, and if you go a certain way, it's faster, but it's harder to do and stuff like that. And that was before I left too, and I was like, oh, okay. And I still did it the slow method, because I was like, I am not doing this FPS switching stuff, because again, it's a lot easier to FPS switch when you're on, you know, keyboard and mouse than it is controller. And also, who knows, like, a lot of runners tend to do the keyboard and mouse thing when they're on console or on PC, and you know, it might be an advantage. I remember the one thing that also kind of threw me off in 2020 was somebody said, well, if you want to be competitive, you can't be on controller. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it wasn't directed at me. I was just watching a stream of a speedrunner, and that's the first, and I was like, oh, okay, you know.
I mean, I feel like that is a good endorsement for why those absolutist statements about like, well, you can't do this and be competitive are really something that, in my opinion, can be removed from people's lexicons because they're discouraging to people, and you never know what person did not need to hear that today. Like, it's just kind of elitist and not helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm skipping around in your questions. I'm in charge and get to do things.
Yes.
I hope you know that. So, hey, what games are you currently playing? We're gonna fast forward by a couple years.
Okay, so currently playing, and for those that don't know how this question is structured, I know I'm kind of taking back over, is it's also casually and whatever. So I'm doing Street Fighter 6 with my stream team, me and AOHell, shout out to AOHell.
You actually talked to your stream team?
We were playing some Street Fighter 6 yesterday and just having a blast with it. I also started speedrunning that for no fucking reason. I just decided, hey, why not? Fuck it.
Best reason to start speedrunning or something, honestly.
And Street Fighter 6 is great. Like, 5 was such a mess, but like 6, oh, such a breath of fresh air. And I didn't think that 6 was going to be a breath of fresh air, but it's like, yeah. And then, of course, Silent Hill 2 and 3, because I have those coming up in a marathon very shortly. 3 of them, in fact, very shortly. And also, I've been playing some Lies of P. I played that demo. That demo is fantastic. It's a very Bloodborne meets Pinocchio meets steampunk is how I put it. And that demo is actually quite long. I think it took me 4.5 hours, and it was really nice. Yeah, and then I did a bit of Sly Cooper. Mostly was doing a demo speedrun of that because someone has put up all the jam-packed demo discs on speedrun.com. And I said, since I said I was going to learn Sly Cooper and the Thieves Raccoonus this year, I still have to do that along with a couple other games. Also, Silent Hill Shattered Memories. I learned that game over GDQ week. I do all 3 categories There's
Imagine
a
doing something productive during GDQ week.
It's probably my second favorite Silent Hill of all time. I love that game. There's no combat, it's just running away for certain points and just running through the town. It was originally released on the Wii. I'm not playing the Wii version because I can't do motion controls with one hand. So I'm doing the PS2 version. I might be doing a race in August with two of the top players who are just so happen to also be on my stream team. So that's going to be fun. We just got to like logistics, figure out stuff. And Schmumbler, who did the home pour run at GDQ, just got back from Japan 2 days ago. So
You're just gonna say just got back from GDQ. It's like as of recording, like 3 weeks out from GDQ. Like, wow, that flight took a while.
yeah, no, not just got back. He left GDQ and went straight to Japan.
This sounds lovely.
I know, right? And so we haven't had super discussion, but the plan is, I believe, is to speedrun every category back to back. So there's any percent UFO, all mementos. And it should be, and I think it takes roughly about 5 hours, give or take, depending how the run goes. Because I think all of us have each category under. Well, Schmumbler says he hasn't ran 2 of them, but I imagine he's going to pick them up very quickly because he's third place for any percent and things like that. And Emma like got back into it pretty quick and, you know, doing pretty well. And then I have all of them under 130. I don't know how plausible getting all of them 130 without resetting is going to be, but it should be an interesting time. But yeah, a lot of Silent Hill for me, some Street Fighter is what I've been playing as of late.
Sounds like a pretty solid lineup of games I've never played. But so what games, if any, are you looking forward to and looking forward to running?
Oh, what a perfect time it was that we were doing this today instead of last night because, I don't know if you saw that Nintendo Direct, but
I've seen bits and pieces of what happened.
Holy shit. We are getting
running kind of cared less about Nintendo Directs after Tears of the Kingdom came out, but they still seemed pretty excited.
Super Mario RPG remake got announced and I like popped so fucking hard. I have cried 3 times watching this trailer. Oh my fucking god, am I ready for this game? Holy shit. It's gonna be fucking amazing, and by the time you hear this it still won't be out, so this will still make sense. But oh my god. So for reference, okay, I somehow rented a copy of the original game back in like 96 and I fell in love with it and could never find it again, and it was like, oh shit. And it was one of the first Super Famicom games that I bought as well. For those that don't know, the Super Nintendo in Japan is called the Super Famicom, and I love this game. It's fucking fabulous. It's probably one of the greatest RPGs ever made. I'm sorry, Persona 5. I'm sorry, every Pokemon ever. I'm sorry, Persona 4. I'm sorry, Final Fantasy 1 through 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and even 16. Like, y'all got tough competition for me when it comes to Super Mario RPG. I cannot fucking wait for this game. It's gonna be amazing. Also, Lies of P, the full game, I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if I would speedrun it, but I'm looking forward to it. Mortal Kombat 1, I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan. Again, I used to be in the FGC before I came to speedrunning, because how did I get kids to stop bullying me for only having the use of one hand? Kicking the shit out of them in fighting games. So
I can do with one arm what you can't with 2 and get on my level.
And like that kind of thing. I had the privilege of meeting Ed Boon at a PlayStation Vita launch event because I used to be in game journalism too, way back in the day. No, I would never go back to game journalism in any shape or form.
You don't want to go back to speedrunning game journalism?
Oh hell no.
Darn it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to a game on Xbox that's very reminiscent of BioShock Infinite. It's called Clockwork Revolution. It has time travel in it as well, and like manipulation of things. It's really weird. That was announced at the Microsoft event. Persona 3 Reloaded, which isn't coming till next year, looks really good. Silent Hill 2 remake. I've heard a lot of bad things about Blooper Team, but I'll check it out. That's why I have a PS5, so that I could check that out. Also, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Oh my god, when that trailer dropped, it was amazing. Oh, I can't wait for Final Fantasy VII Remake 2. Oh, I still haven't even played the first one, and we gotta do that eventually. Also, Spider-Man 2 looks fucking absolutely incredible. I can't wait, and it's gonna be great. I thought Resident Evil 4 was gonna be the game of the year for me, because I love that game. But, like, Super Mario RPG coming out, I'm like, oh, fuck. And, like, you know, Spider-Man 2 looks good. I don't know if it would be, but Super Mario RPG might be the game of the year for me, let me tell you.
Is Super Mario RPG on the docket to speedrun, or is it just
Oh,
oh,
yes. Oh,
oh,
yes.
some min-maxing over here?
Because for people that don't know, I have a list of over 80 something games that I have to learn. The original Mario RPG is on that fucking list. So the remake is on that list now. Yeah, I don't know how the speedrun's gonna go. It looks to be like a 1-to-1 remake is what's happening, which is fabulous, but I don't know if it's gonna be the same thing. We'll have to wait and see, because it actually looks like there's going to be cutscenes now, and it's just like, ooh.
And most likely it's not going to be in the same engine, because the from what I understand, the engine for Super Mario RPG was cobbled together due to hardware restrictions, and it probably will no longer have all of those restrictions and will instead be a new engine that takes advantage of modern things, which does mean that, oh, we're gonna see how this gets broken, and it'll probably be unique. I
Mm-hmm.
look forward to it. I look
Also,
forward to seeing what people will
the
do.
other fun thing about Super Mario RPG for any Kingdom Hearts fans out there, and this is also gonna route back to Street Fighter, the composer for Super Mario RPG would go on to do Parasite Eve and Kingdom Hearts. She's absolutely fabulous. But before that, she did the soundtrack for Street Fighter 2 as well. Well, part of Street Fighter 2, because I think there were 3 composers for Street Fighter 2, if I remember correctly. But she was in that, and a lot of songs. And when then when Ryu came into Smash, she did a bunch of remixes of songs or arrangements and stuff like that. Also, the Earthbound level with the chicken, the song that plays for that one was one of her arrangements as well, and it's really lovely. Sorry, I don't like Earthbound, so I don't know shit about it, because I'm
I also
not a fan
don't.
of it.
Yeah, I didn't beat that game. I'm sorry.
I just didn't like it. I just, yeah. But
At
those are the
least we
games.
can experience this hot take together. Um, can connect and vibe over our hot takes on a game that's like 20 plus years. When did Earthbound come out?
95.
Okay, 28 years old? Jeez. Wow. Game's older than me. But yeah, so I see we have a long docket.
Yeah.
What makes you decide what goes on the list? How do you pick what's coming next? And how do you pick what's coming next off of the list if you've got 80 plus games waiting in the wings to jump to?
Okay, so the way I pick a game is, do I like this video game? Like, for example, Resident Evil is my favorite franchise of all time. I know, that sounds weird considering I barely speedrun any. And don't speedrun them for long. I know, shocker. You'd think Silent Hill was, but no, Silent Hill just kind of fell into the lap and was never actually in the plans, originally. A lot of the times, it's like, ooh, this speedrun looks interesting. Let me see if I can do that. For example, I run Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I totally don't remember how I got into speedrunning it, but I got into speedrunning it in that because that was what I call my baby, because it was the first game that I took seriously, because I did that game after I left Resident Evil 8, and I put some time into that. I love that game. That game is fabulous. If you've not played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I recommend it. It's fantastic. And I do New Game Plus, which is about world records under 2.5 hours. You're usually looking at 3 because you're just overpowered as fuck. So if you're not into trying to play golf and all that stuff and avoid fucking giant level 84 ape trying to crush you at the very beginning of the game, depending how you run into him, there are those options. As for how I pick a game off the list in an order, I'm just like, oh, that game looks interesting, let me do it. Because that's what happened with Shattered Memories. I just finally decided to just do it. I have a list of 7 games that I said I was going to do this year, which was 2, which I tried to do last year, but the PC version's a little bit of a bitch to get working. Shattered Memories, because Schmumbler also offered to sell me a Japanese copy for a very generous price, as it was way lower than eBay prices, because that game is expensive as shit. And there was The Ring Terror's Realm, because another thing I will do is I will be like, oh, friend runs this game, let me run this game too. That's how Signs of the Sojourner happen.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, I wonder what that is.
Could it possibly be?
Because a lot of the games, a friend or someone who I consider a friend has ran that game. With
Abby, are
Illbleed,
we friends?
I wonder, Pippi, because
Are we
with
friends?
Illbleed, Umbrella Jill got me into that game. And it just so happened that I started picking it up right as Punchy got it into AGDQ, and I wanted very so much that it got into Frost Fatales, because I was like, wouldn't that be cool if Punchy runs it at AGDQ, I run it at Frost Fatales? But it didn't happen. I got Silent Hill 3, and I'll get into that a little bit later. With Silent Hill 3, Catlink, who actually helped me get the game running, because the PC versions, they're abandonware. They're not on Steam. You kind of have to sail the 7 seas, as they say, and stuff like that. And it can be a little bit of a hassle to get them running on modern hardware, because they are games from 2001 and 2003. Kind of thing. Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, I did that because it was like, I love, like, that game is fun as shit, as Pippi,
Very cute.
And somebody posted it on the board, and I did basic, and it was just like, yeah, cool. Cannon Spike was on a whim. Fashion Police Squad was because of Dangerous. I have a fun story about Fashion Police Squad. Skyward Sword HD was because of this runner. You may have heard of her. Her name is Pippi in a Top Hat.
What a dumb name. Pick a better one.
Silent Hill Origins was because I saw a pun and I said that looks like a comfy run, and it is. It's the Silent Hill that I recommend because there's no RNG in it, specifically the UFO ending. Sometimes I'll just watch somebody run something and be like, oh, that's interesting, let me do it. Goosebumps was because of Niddle, and I have to give Niddle a huge shout out, because one of the things why I also have so many runs is because Niddle introduced me to a meme where go to your SRC profile and hit print screen. See how many pages you can print based on your profile. Though I took it a little differently.
One.
Because I hit obsolete, and then it's like, now we're getting into things. Although now that I'm at like 24 games, it's probably large, but if you hit obsolete, it's like, oh god. And then, yeah, so I have to give Niddle a shout out for that. Crash Bandicoot was because of Marphoria, because it was like, oh, this looks interesting. I didn't stick with it that long because it was very frustrating, because platformers be a bitch to run. And Samurai Champloo Sidetracked was because that was like one of the first PS2 games I ever bought. Because when I bought a PS2, it was Final Fantasy Dirge of Cerberus, Samurai Champloo Sidetracked, and Mortal Kombat Armageddon were the first 3 games that I got for it. And I decided to play it last year, and that's how that happened. Clock Tower Mobile is an Igdisis meme.
Is that what the stream team is named after? I need to know.
No,
Oh,
I don't know why it's called the Clock Tower.
my headcanon it's because of Clock Tower Mobile.
Because Igdisis is not a part of that is not in that team, because Igdisis is kind of the Clock Tower guy. But you know, I just ran it because I was like, oh, it's a 30-second fucking mobile game that's not really a game. And that's actually how I got talking to Tainted Tally, because I think I posted about it in the Lady Arcaders Discord when I started running it, and she was like, yes, one of us. And I was like, haha. And then, yeah, so I joined the Igdisis meme, and that was that. And then there are so many games that I haven't fucking ran off this list of 80-something games, because, yeah, and there are some games that aren't even on the list, like the demo games. Those aren't on the list because they're not a part of that. Because, like, Twilight Princess is on the list, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy XIV, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the BioShock trilogy, the Sly Not Quite trilogy, Sonic games are on there. There's all kinds of stuff on there. Pokemon speedruns, because I almost did Pokemon Coliseum last year, and I wanted to do Scarlet and Violet and things like that. And there are a lot of games that I see that other people are running, and I'm like, that looks interesting, let me check it out. There's a lot of games that Punchy and I do. We don't have a huge rapport, by the way. We're not on a hey kind of thing, and I'll get to more stuff about that later, because that's gonna relate into another question.
Oh, you peeking ahead at my question? How dare you also have access to the same Google Doc I'm looking at?
It's not like I wrote the
Oh, definitely not. Totally not. It definitely was written by me, and like all things written by me, this is secretly a notepad document. We love a .txt. Oh no, my chair is rolling away.
Oh no.
But so you have stated that main reason that you speedrun a game is because you enjoy the game, which is, if I can say in my opinion, a good reason to speedrun a game. Just a correct one. Is there a game you love but would not consider speedrunning?
Bloodborne, Dark Souls.
Those do sound frustrating to speedrun.
It's not even the frustrating aspect of it. It's because when I play the Bloodborne, I like to be a god and just be like, oh hey, you stab, you're dead. Stab, you're dead. Plus, I just like to grind in those games is another thing. And
running Hyrule Warriors.
I have
that
not.
entire speed run is just like, I am level 100 and you are a peon. I just murdered 500 enemies in 3 attacks. Get on my level.
Yeah, and things like that. I couldn't do the Dark Souls. Persona 5 is on the list, but it is a 14-hour speedrun or 12-hour speedrun if you're doing New Game Plus. And it's like, Jesus Christ. I don't know if I have the stamina to do a 12-hour speedrun. I have the stamina to do 12 hours of speedrunning, but one run 12 hours? I don't know if I have stamina for that kind of thing. So maybe Persona might come off the list. I don't know. I haven't taken a game off the list kind of thing. But definitely the Souls series is one, because it's just like, nah, I can't, because I just like stabby things. There might be some other games that I haven't tried to speedrun. It's just that when I look at the Souls games and I look at, Distortion 2 and his runs, because I have a friend who used to run Dark Souls games. I don't know if he had an SRC profile or not, but he used to talk about Distortion 2's runs a lot. And like, I've seen some of his stuff and it's just like, Jesus Christ, like when, Elden Ring is a 4-minute speed run. It's like, holy fucking shit.
Oh
You,
god, yeah.
you know what I mean? And I love
Runs are broken.
I love me some FromSoft, but I don't know if I could speedrun those games.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. So, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time in terms of speedrunning? Where are we going? Where are we going? Show me the roadmap. I'm very lost.
Very interesting question, because I don't know, because a lot of because the funny thing is that one of my stream goals for this year, or New Year's resolution, whatever the fuck you want to say, was get on hotfix, because I thought that was going to be very difficult. Did I expect to get on hotfix 3 times this year so far? No. Hopefully running more games, getting more of these games knocked off, maybe becoming someone known in the Zelda side of it, because again, I do want to run like Twilight Princess and stuff, and I was kind of hoping that the rumors about the Direct, which was a double pack of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, were true.
Oh, I would be so happy.
I know, right? And not have to
Oh, Wind
spend
Waker has my heart.
like $200 on Twilight Princess.
Oh god, you could run it for Wii. No, no, please don't run it for Wii.
I can't
Don't
run
run
it
it
for
for
Wii.
Wii. Yeah, don't run it for Wii for a million reasons. That game is pain without accessibility issues.
The funny thing is, if I wanted to do Wind Waker, on the other hand, I just need to purchase a Wii U, because I got the Wind Waker bundle back in the day. Fun story, I canceled my PS4 launch pre-order for that one, and even though you can't purchase things on the eShop, you can still download stuff that was on your account, which is nice.
Wait, yeah, that makes me happy, because I also got the Wind Waker bundle way back, and so like Wind Waker is like the only digital title I own on like anything of a AAA game. So, you know, it can sit there and taunt me and be like, "Hey Pippi, don't you want to run Wind Waker HD? Don't you want to learn Pausa?" And I can look at it and go, "I do, but stop it. I don't have time."
And yeah, so that was a thing, because
Zelda
while I
side.
was doing Skyward Sword HD, I had a little bit of communication with Gymnast86. I was actually shocked that he verified my run, as a matter of fact, and I was like, oh,
He does do that.
interesting. And I had also, had a small back and forth with him about like tutorial stuff, because there's an incomplete tutorial and things like that. And he was very responsive, and I was kind of surprised at that. And I haven't talked to him since I stopped running that game, because I kind of stopped running that game for a bit because other obligations. I wanted to go back to that this year, but so who knows? I could be a Mario runner, I could be a continued horror runner, I could be running 85 games all at once. Who knows?
That's the new name of this podcast. It's running
And
85 games all at once. It's gonna be like one of those podcasts where you have to do the speedrun at the same time, but you're doing all 85.
yeah, to be fair, I did have a split show up late last year, and I remember Charbunny going, I hope you have breaks in here, and I was like, I'm just gonna move away, because it was like 20 something categories, because it was only when I had probably 7 games done at that point, but I had a lot of Silent Hill 3 categories, because I do 30 of them now. I didn't do 30 of them at the time, but there was a lot of Silent Hill 3 in there, and it was every category that I ran at the time, back to back to back to back to back, because I also, it was kind of crazy. And now I'm doing, if I were to go, it's too much to count, but like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 62 categories right now between every game I run currently.
That do be a lot.
Yeah.
Now I hope you take breaks. Do you take breaks? Remember to take a break and stretch and hydrate.
Oh god, because I haven't done this yet. But no comment.
Oh.
Maybe in 5 years I actually show up to a GDQ. Maybe I do RTA in Japan. Maybe I do ASM. By the way, when I say do RTA in Japan, I don't mean go in person. I mean do a remote run, because also Japan be far, Australia be far, and I don't mind doing remote runs. That's the same thing for GDQ. I don't mind doing remote runs. If you want me, you can have me. But in person might be asking too much, because I don't have a passport either, because bullshit. But yeah. Maybe these things happen in 5 years.
Okay, so I have a question for you about
Uh-huh.
RTA in Japan, except it's
Yes.
not in Japan. RTA or IGT?
Okay. So I
That was
have
my segue.
I have a controversial opinion, and that is that IGT can go fuck itself, because until a GDQ, until a RTA in Japan, or a Lady Arcader Super Showcase, or a Fast Pace for Pride, or insert your event here, asks for IGT, we shouldn't be giving a shit about IGT times, because they care about RTA times. They want your RTA time because they're timing things for an event. So if an event, like, do events actually give a shit about IGT? I understand the value of IGT, making it so that you don't have to run the latest and greatest hardware, which is fucking great. And I get that it's perfect for boards, but events are always like IG or RTA please, RTA please, RTA. Like, even like if they were to be like, please list RTA, but also we want to know your IGT. Great, IGT is perfect for that. Because it's funny going back to December, dun dun dun, in
That was a long
December
time ago.
with Silent Hill 3. There was an exploit discovered that if you mash the supply button, which is how we heal when running between Silent Hill and when we're actually running between locations in Silent Hill to keep our stamina full, every time you press that button, it pauses the timer by a single frame.
Oh no.
The game was timed by IGT, and then it was like, oh fuck. And it was like, what do we do? The game on PC went with an LRT or LRTA, which was loadless real-time attack. That's what RTA stands for, by the way, for anyone that didn't know that.
In-game time.
Indeed.
Helpful acronym definitions.
Yes. And basically, it acts exactly like how the IGT would act, except for when you mash supply, it doesn't fuck with the timer. You need to have the LRTA if you want to run on PC. On console, it's RTA. A lot of people dropped off after this shit went down, which is understandable. And granted, most Silent Hills are pretty dead. I think I looked the other day, and I think the highest Silent Hill game has for active runners was like 6. I don't know how speedrun.com calculates an active runner, but it was 6, and I think it was for 3. And that's a shame. And I get that it's the hardware dependency thing because loads and whatnot, and it sucks. But again, events want to ask for RTA, but I suppose if you want to go into the competitive thing and the posting on the SRCs, then IGT is great 95% of the time, because also there's kind of a mix. Skyward Sword, RTA. It'll bleed despite the fact that it has an IGT is RTA. Shattered Memories is RTA because there is no IGT. Street Fighter is RTA. Demos are RTA. Sly is RTA. But RE4 is IGT. Silent Hill 3 is IGT. Silent Hill 2 is IGT. Silent Hill Origins is IGT. Goosebumps is RTA, but loads remove. So it's kind of all over the place. Xenoblade is RTA. Metroid Fusion is RTA.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I kind of lean more in the RTA direction.
I mean, can you tell I'm a console runner that I am also in the like RTA forever camp?
Mm-hmm.
That's like, yeah, even the indie game that I run, it's like I'm not removing loads. I'm sorry, we do not have the resources for that, and it can be so resource intensive to
Mm-hmm.
do any kind of loadless or IGT or whatever, and I'm all on team RTA, we can hang out here together. Um,
Yeah.
we got happy company. So with our happy company, hey, what's your favorite coffee?
Okay, it's the coffee time, and as everybody knows, because I fucking promote this shit 1,000 times, it's a Coke coffee, hashtag not sponsored. Thanks, Zoku Bun, for this one. It's the dark roast version. Apparently, some places in the United States don't have these anymore, and I'm like, oh, that's too bad. You guys had 0 variants for a while.
There's a Coke coffee?
Yes,
Does it have Coke in it, or is it just a coffee made by Coke?
it's got Coke and coffee, and it's made by Coke.
Ah. There's a place by me that does like coffee sodas that are like in-house that has something similar. I've never tried it though.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then if I went to like a Starbucks before I found the strawberry matcha tea, I would get like one of their chocolatey drinks.
like a
And
mocha.
yeah, and usually a frappuccino because I'm not a fan of hot coffees. Also, Tim Hortons
Iced
is dog
coffee
shit.
forever.
Yeah. Tim Hortons is dog shit. Suck it, Tim Hortons. Y'all heard me rant about this because I talk about it most of the episodes. Tim Hortons fucking sucks. Starbucks is superior. I haven't found a lot of like mom and pop coffee stuff because I'm not a huge coffee drinker. I like sodas a lot more. Dr. Pepper Zero for life, and I don't do
It's
anything.
still a purveyor of caffeine.
Yes. Also, I love teas. David Teas is great. They have like hundreds of matcha teas and stuff. And like I said, my Starbucks go-to until it disappears is probably going to be that strawberry matcha because it has real strawberries in it and oat milk and
Do they have fresh strawberries in Canadian Starbucks? Or is it like strawberry puree?
oh no, it's like actual strawberry pieces that they're putting in there.
Like the freeze-dried strawberry pieces? I'm trying to, because that's not a promoted item. Hi, I work at a Starbucks right now. That's not a promoted item at US Starbucks right now. I'm trying to like figure out what they put in it because like, hey, even if it's gone from the menu, as long as it doesn't have like anything that's like a seasonal item, you can get that whenever. You just have to tell us what you want. Like
That's fair. It also has like syrup shots in it.
this up. We're looking up how to make a strawberry matcha.
Yeah, it's delicious. I have been in calls and said I will be right back. I'm going to go get one. Because fun fact, I actually hang out in Pippi's Discord quite a bit and just kind of chill in there. Sometimes I run away because reasons, but it's like you can choose your matcha powder scoops. You can change the milk, but I usually have oat because oat is superior. Oat is the superior milk for anything, cereal or otherwise. I usually put it in my coffee, though at home my coffee is usually an Instablend because I'm uncool and don't have a coffee machine and stuff, and I'm lazy as fuck. So I just put the instant in, put the water in, stir, you're done, and I'm like, yay, because I'm not cool for that kind of stuff. And again, Starbucks has superior coffee to Tim Hortons. Yeah, I don't like McDonald's coffee either because McDonald's coffee kind of sucks. Two, I don't know if it's just because McDonald's isn't like as in depth as your Tim Hortons is and your Starbucks is and your Second Cups. Second Cups is kind of like the other Canadian coffee shop that's not as big as Tim Hortons but is superior to Tim Hortons. Though if I'm going to a Second Cup, I'm getting a frozen hot chocolate.
So I looked it up and it seems that the iced strawberry oat matcha tea latte that
Yeah.
is in fact a Canadian exclusive menu item is definitely just made from stuff we have in the like ingredient list at Starbucks. Yeah, you can get that year round.
Okay. Like I said, I didn't know if it was gonna disappear. Also, I usually get a venti because it's like 30 cents more, and I'm like, oh, it's almost double the liquid intake. Let's go.
Get your hydration, especially if it's matcha. Matcha's delicious.
Yes, matcha is delicious, and that's why I love David's tea because they have like 20, like 10, like if you want to have a traditional Japanese matcha, David's Tea got you covered because they have the stir sticks, the everything, the traditional cups, and about like, hang on, how many different versions of matcha or of, let me see, as I go to their website. By the way, they do ship to the United States. They've got blueberry matcha, ceremonial matcha, matcha matsu, Gran Cru matcha, gingerbread matcha, matcha ice cream, which I don't think is an actual matcha tea. It looks more like a tea, peach matcha, just to name a few. It's absolutely fabulous. Like, and they've got the matcha bowls, long wooden matcha spoon, bamboo wisps, all that stuff. And
I wish I was a classy enough human to not make matcha like a gremlin.
to be fair, I make matcha like a gremlin right now, so you're not alone. But
Someday
yeah.
we'll be classy, but today we're stuck with who we are.
Indeed. And of course, I'm gonna kind of half take over here because at the time of your interview, coffee wasn't involved.
That is true.
So, so I'm
Am I
going
being
to.
asked for a favorite coffee? Is that's what's happening now?
Yeah, let's talk. I'm Uno reversing for about 10.
goodness.
So, yeah.
My favorite coffee, because I'm really basic, is an iced latte with whipped cream. We say no to hot drinks in this house. This
Hell
is
yeah.
a cold coffee in the dead of winter. I need everyone to know that I weigh like a pound and am super lanky and so have no natural insulation and get cold if you look at me wrong and can't go swimming because I turn purple, but it's still like, 0 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And I will be drinking my iced latte with whipped cream. Why whipped cream? Because it's fun and it makes my inner child happy. But
Yay.
I don't do whipped cream as much as I used to because I switched to like a reusable cup and it's just way easier to clean if it doesn't have as much like things
Mm-hmm.
with added sugar in it. And I'm lazy and I can be an adult and have my latte without whipped cream, but also whipped cream is fun and like occasionally you just gotta
Yeah.
it's delicious. But yes, I'm very plain when it comes to my coffee, but it does have to be iced.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows. There is
Yeah.
no excuse to have hot coffee to me.
Yeah, and even if I do make hot coffee, I've got to put like fun stuff. Like there's Turtles chocolate cream at a grocery store near me, and I'm like, I can make my coffee taste like Turtles. Let's go. Like I always have to add these silly things to it, and I'm like, yes, this makes this better.
It's so funny being the person who works at a Starbucks and doesn't do all of the add-ins typically. Like there's a couple of times where it's like, oh, I'm feeling special. I'll do like some sort of chai or something like that. Or matcha, or I'll try out the seasonal drink and then like go, this tastes like sugar, and then not do it ever again.
Also, Starbucks has a bomb candy cane hot chocolate.
Yeah, that is a thing. The peppermint hot chocolate type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny to be the one person who works at Starbucks, like, doesn't put a ton of syrup in my drink and it's just kind of plain. And you know what? I am the one person who does not have to get in other people's way to make my own drink for my break. Also, fun story, the Starbucks has, like, at the holiday seasons, the past couple of years has had this, like, sugar-y almond milk latte. And when it first came out, I was an idiot and we decided to somebody who worked at the place where I worked put like a pump of it into a sample cup and then just drank it to see what it would taste like and went, wow, that was bad, and then walked away. And me and my coworker were like, there's got to be a better way to find out what it tastes like without making a whole drink with it. So we put a tiny bit of oat milk in the bottom of sample cups and put like a tiny squirt of the syrup and then tried it. And we were like, that'll be better, right? It'll be diluted by the oat milk. No.
Oh no.
No. Just here's a hot take. Don't just drink oat milk and Starbucks syrup. It's so bad. Not great.
Yeah, but yeah, if you can find a Coke coffee, I highly recommend it. It's delicious. It's half, if you're a calorie consumed person, it's half the calories of a can of Coke anyway.
Because the other half is coffee.
Yeah.
I'll have to try it at some point because, as I said, there is someplace by me that makes it.
Oh,
All
I
right, we've
mean,
gone.
actually, like, buy a Coke, like, buy the actual product. But yes, you can also, because I imagine that a coffee place making it is doing something much different.
I mean, to my knowledge, they're just like it might be espresso instead of straight up coffee, and they might put a tiny bit of some other flavor in it because that's often
Mhm.
what they do. But it is straight up just like, hey, we have Coke back here, and we put it in coffee, and that is what you get.
Okay, because like I've tried to make it at home and it's not the same. So I'm like, I don't know what Coke specifically is doing, like what the ratio is and whatnot, but it is not quite the same. You know,
I
I don't,
do.
I don't have the secret Coke formula for Coke coffee.
So now that we've gone on a nice long tangent about coffee.
Hmm.
Coffee's delicious, by the way. It's great. Now as we sip our invisible coffee, what have been your proudest and lowest moments as a speedrunner? Let's get nostalgic.
Okay, so my proudest moment as a runner was Frost Fatales 2023. I was not expecting it. I was rejected for Flame 2022, and I remember streaming at the time. And and I made a highlight of this because I was live when the schedule dropped, and I saw my name, and I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Like, my reaction to Super Mario RPG remake that you just heard a while ago was the same fucking thing almost to that reaction. That was incredible, and I was so happy that Kat and Char could join me for that, because Char was on the circuit with me, as I call it, because we had met through Lady Arcaders, and she did Silent Hill Origins for me out of the buddy system. I have opinions about the buddy system, but that was a good one, and there's been a lot of good buddy system stuff that's happened. And then she agreed to cut, and we did sort of what I call the independent circuit, the non-majors. And, Kat was the person who got me into Silent Hill 3, was a huge help, was also the first person to ever do commentary for me for my very first event. And to have them both together for the second time, and to do it on GDQ. It was also the first time I was on GDQ. It was absolutely incredible. Another highlight for me was having Punchy on comms, because the Silent Hill 3 just had its 20th anniversary, and Church, GDQ staff member, GDQ hotfix host for How to
A
Train a
generally
Speedrunner,
loved human being, wonderful person.
apparently made the event, and Schmumbler brought it to my attention, and I was like, ooh, and so I signed up for it. And Church was like, 2 runs for you, and I was like, what? So first of all, we have Punchy, we have Schmumbler, we have Exterior Emma, and we have UFO Techie. Techie is the first person to ever do Silent Hill, period, of the franchise for GDQ, for those that didn't know. But if you listened to his episode, you would have known that. And Techie did my first run, Punchy did the second. And I was surprised that Punchy said yet. Granted, Punchy was the run directly after me, so, he probably had the time. And it was an absolute thrill for me to have Punchy there, because I like Punchy a lot and things like that. And I actually have a fun Zokubun story. Oh, yes. But I will get to that after I finish answering the question. And it's funny to me, because a lot of people who've come on the show say, oh, it was getting an X time. And for me, it wasn't. I was always shocked that it wasn't, oh, I got into GDQ, oh, I got into this or that. It was always the X time thing, and I always found that fascinating. And hey, whatever floats your boat. If getting a time in a game, that is cool. But for me, it was getting to do these GDQ appearances and stuff. And I haven't talked to Punchy much or anything like that. We're not besties or anything, and I try not to
gotta go be besties.
and I don't want to bother him, because I do have that thing, I could be
Oh,
bothering
I know that
people.
mood.
Oh, you know,
We're not
me,
getting into my personal history.
me and Pippi had quite the bonding moment over that GDQ appearance, over things. And, Punchy was very cordial. He's very cool with it, and I would love to work with him again. I'd love to work with Kat again. There are a lot of people that I would love to work with that I haven't worked with, period. Also, one of my favorite, and this is another speedrun moment, probably my favorite run, even though this wasn't the speed run, it was an event run. It was for Lady Arcaders, Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. Me, Alice at Wonderland Games, and Pippi in a
Wonderful
top
people.
hat.
Who's that?
For 2 hours. And it was a fucking blast. I'm slowly uploading all my event runs to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Abbiescorner. And oh my god, they tried to crack me right the fuck up. And at one time, you go, can we just applaud that our runner we've been breaking our runner and she hasn't messed up once.
It's a personal challenge.
And it was so much fun, and it was great.
Legit though, can we just give a shout out real quick to how helpful it is to have a good commentator, and I definitely am with you on when I look back at my accomplishments in speedrunning, it's never the actual time that's written on live split, and it's never the size of the audience that's watching me or who's in the audience or whatever. None of that is the things that stick in my brain. It is oh, I got to work with this person and it was great, and they're super cool, and man, I hope I get to talk to them again, because so much of what makes speedrunning special is the community behind it, and all of the good that can come of playing a video game kind of fast. And it is so nice to have friends on comms, or just have support around you, and getting to meet and work with cool people and become a part of that community. Super cannot be overvalued.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% on your team on that one. That yes, it doesn't matter that run was not a GDQ main stage Saturday prime time. It was incredible.
Yeah. And if you had have asked me 2 years ago when I started, because also that showcase with Punchy and Teggy was my 2nd year anniversary as a speedrunner. If you had have told me I would have been on GDQ in any facet, hotfix, Frost Fatales, mainline event, by the way, the Fatales are mainline events. Screw anybody who doesn't think that. If they're promoting it, they make special art for it, and it's on for a fucking week, that's a mainline to me.
Hey, I'm waiting for it to be the live for open attendees. I'm here for it. Give me more opportunities in the year to go bother my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would have been like, you're nuts. That's not gonna happen. I'm not good enough for that. There's no fucking way they would ever have me on in any shape or form. And funny enough, former guest on the show, or maybe, I don't know how I'm publishing this yet, Amerlin is submit to AGDQ 24. Do it. And I'm like,
I will say the same. Do it. I'm doing it, and I'm not gonna get in, but you know what? I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, don't hurt me.
Amerlin will only hurt you with love.
Yeah.
Very aggressive love.
Yeah, he did commentary for me not that long ago for Fashion Police Squad. Yeah, which was unexpected, but that was because Dane asked him, because Dane couldn't do it for him. He I believe had a class to teach at the time. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm not intimidated or anything. I get intimidated by a lot of people, okay? It's not just Punchy, it's a lot of people. It's just like, please don't kill me. You know.
When you're casually concerned that your commentator is gonna murder you.
And it's like I said, Punchy is great. He's not scary. I mean, it's intimidated because of like his status in the community. That's the thing that intimidates me more. Like Punchy's lovely. I love, like, he's got a great personality. He's a great performer, and I love watching his streams. And I think he gets a bad rap, and it's unfortunate. And
Does he get a bad rep? I thought he had an excellent rep.
I don't know, certain things I've heard, and it's like, no, he's a great guy. Like,
He seems it.
yeah, and I don't know if I would ever get to meet him in person, but I'd love to meet him in person. I'd love to hang out with him and chat and whatnot. And granted, I would like to also hang out with a lot of people, but it's easier said than done being trapped in Canada, the eventless country.
Eventually, we'll get you out of Canada so you can come hang out. Because it does suck that going to events has to be expensive and to do and have a lot of restrictions and requirements that have to be met to get there. But like it is an absolutely lovely experience to like it's kind of amazing to remember that like, oh yeah, all these like scary, big, intimidating people for the most part are like well respected in their communities because they're just nice people and it's lovely to chat with them. And also typically they like memes and goofing off and doing stupid stuff. And so, hey, would you like some memes?
Yeah.
But it is lovely to get to work with so many cool people from so many different walks of life running. Like absolutely a highlight.
Yeah.
You've said your proudest moments. Do we want to say lowest moments, or are we moving on from that? Because we're at such a high.
Lowest moments, number one, wasn't necessarily a speed run, but it was something that happened at an event. And unfortunately, because of what happened, a lot of past traumas involving me was brought up to me. Pippi, you know about this event, and it kind of made the decision that I'm probably never volunteering at an event ever again because it wasn't cool. I realized that it was my fault that it happened because I didn't lock down my account as much, and it wasn't something that I even did, but I got the blame for it, and it was really unfortunate. Let's just say threatening to, I don't know if I want to use the word.
Just people being jerks on the internet. Being
Yeah.
horrifying jerks. And like, if I may, I don't think that it should be considered to any degree your fault that someone was a jerk. Like, yeah, like you could make arguments about like, well, you want to receive the messages if you don't have DMs open or whatever it is. But also, there's a way easier solution here. Just people not send terrible DMs. If somebody wasn't a jerk, then you wouldn't have to worry about it, and, like, it does suck that, like, part of what goes along with working, especially larger events that have a larger crowd, does mean that you are putting yourself out there for a lot of people to be able to interact with you, and some of them suck. Some of them are awful, and some of them say really weird stuff that you don't know how to respond to, and you're just like, "Okay." But it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Another lowest moment was also this year.
This year's been a roller coaster. I am totally on board for that.
And it was Multithon. Multithon 1. I don't know if it had a title, but it was the first Multithon.
It's just Multithon, yep.
Yeah, and felt really bad about it. I didn't handle things well, and but I was also panicking because it was like, oh, I've been told I have to move in like, and I really handled the situation wrong, and I feel like absolute shit for it, and I kind of went like, and
we learn from our past experiences, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can really do in situations like that.
Yeah, and I felt bad, and I mean, we're still friends and stuff, but it's like You know, I
Are we
wasn't.
friends?
I
Abby, are
was.
we friends?
Yes, we're friends, Pippi. I didn't.
Yay!
I didn't mean, and I just felt bad. And whenever multi-thon comes up, I kind of still get a bad feeling about it, and I'm kind of like, because
Well,
it
we're just
just
gonna have to perform for for the uninitiated. A run that we were supposed to do together fell through because of real life and moving and stuff, and it was a bit of a scramble. But we'll just have to make up for it by doing another run together. Multithon Rivals is the next multithon, and I'm not a big racer, but if we can find something to race, I will swallow my pride, and by pride, I mean my utter fear of head-to-head competition, and
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
fight it out.
yeah. But that was a low moment for me because I didn't want to like hurt anybody, and that's what happened, and it sucked, and it was just like, oh, and kind of thing. And I realized that I've probably offended a lot of people and have opinions on how people think of me, which is that a lot of people hate me because I tend to go in that direction.
They don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't.
but I don't have evidence that they don't, and so my brain goes
That's
in that
rude.
direction.
That's a mood. I also think everyone hates me. It's okay. We'll make a tiny little shelter somewhere. But in the spirit of learning and growing from past mistakes, what advice would you give to your past self about your first speedruns if you knew what you know now?
Don't stop because of a fucking trick that gets discovered. Kind of just push through it and don't give up that easily. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, because I could have easily just continued. As a matter of fact, I call Resident Evil 4 Remake was supposed to be my redemption arc to prove myself to the Resident Evil speedrunners. And granted, everybody kind of fell off with RE4 because it's such a fucking slog of a run. And I'm not done with RE4R, it's just other things have come up. But it is a slog, and it is a, hey, you get grabbed, the run's fucking over because you're not PBing. Like, you need such perfection that it's just like, god damn. But I'm not done with it, and again, it was supposed to be the redemption arc for the Resident Evil community because, again, favorite franchise. I feel like I let a lot of the runners down. I don't know why I feel like I let them down, but I do, kind of thing.
I mean, it is never too late to go back to a run, to a community, a game, and also like one of the things that I know I struggle with in speedrunning is like definitely the mood of having to prove myself to the communities that I run in and the communities that I present myself in. But in actuality, like you have as much a right to be in any speedrunning space as Punchy or Schmumbler or Ecdysis or anyone. Like you have just as much right to be there and to run the game however is fun and comfortable for you. And like I am all here for the yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
don't get discouraged. Run the game you want to run. Go live your dreams.
Haha.
Live your dreams and play the video game fast or something.
Yeah.
Uh, but so in terms of adding new runs from your list of 80 speed runs, how do you learn a speed run? How do you do that? I
I
don't
don't.
know how you do that, so teach me.
Number one, I don't take notes because I can't write English to save my life. I can barely speak it to save my life. So that's a thing. And some people are like, what the fuck? Because I know a lot of the elderly runners have notes, and I'm like, I wish I had notes, but I'm too dumb for that. And it's a lot of repetition for the most part, and it's a lot of like I have over 200 hours streamed of Illbleed. I have, or am I at 200 hours for Illbleed? I think I am. Twitch tracker, where are you? Because that's how I track my things. I have over 700 hours in Silent Hill 3. Sometimes it's watching a video, sometimes it's repeatedly practicing something over and over again. And a lot of the times, sometimes it is like, I'm rarely casual playing, although Emma kind of was like, yo, casual play Shattered Memories right now, and so I casual played it. Yeah, I have over like 200 hours in Illbleed, over 150 hours in RE4. It's a lot of repetition from me. It's a lot of sitting there for hours doing the same run over and over again kind of thing. And, sometimes I'll watch a run and be like, okay, how did you do this? How did you do that? And yeah, like even with Shattered Memories, which again, I said I learned over GDQ week, I have 88.5 hours streamed in that. And it could have been more, but I've got to do the 2s and I got to do the 3s. So I'm working on the 2 and the 3. More the 2 than the 3, but it is what it is. So that's kind of how I learned to speedrun, is do it over and over and over and over again.
So in your infinite grind to master speedruns, what is your methodology for not burning yourself out on a game or a category?
Usually I'm in an event and I'm like, okay, I have to impress people here. A event will ban me and or completely destroy me if I do bad. So I must constantly grind while in event or before event. So I just keep going and going and going, because that's what I did and sometimes I might do a different category, because that's what I did for Frost Fatales. I did a bunch of categories, because also there's that fear of, why is she here when there's a better runner here? Because there's always that fear of somebody is going to complain that, why is this, and excuse my language, this bitch running this when there is a better runner on her couch, or a better runner that you could have selected. So I'm trying to prove myself to the communities, you know what I mean? I don't know if the top horror runners are ever going to see me. And most of the top runners are chill. As I said, Punchy's fantastic in my opinion. And so is Kat, and so is Maxi, and so on and so forth. And Igdisis and stuff. They're all fantastic. But it's I'm so worried that somebody is going to be like, why is this bitch running this game for you when there is better people? So I have chip on my shoulder and I have to prove myself and / half on that partner grind, even though I have nowhere near the audience to be on the partner grind. But yeah, I'm trying to prove myself that I belong, kind of thing. And so it's I gotta do the things. I gotta grind the things and make sure that the people watching know that I belong here, kind of thing, or that I don't get a comment, because a few friends of mine have gotten those comments, and it's very demoralizing to just hear that they got those comments. And it's I don't want those comments. Fuck all y'all, I'm very sensitive and shit like that, and I want to prove myself that I belong and that I can hang with the big leagues and things like that.
That is definitely a mood of the constant voice in the back of your head being like, well, you haven't earned this space type of thing.
Yeah.
Of oh no, what if everybody finds out that I'm an imposter? Alternatively, what if everybody finds out that I have horrible imposter syndrome?
Yeah. And it's kind of like that. Again, when we shared that moment over our collective hot fixes, and it's oh god, when we did that, it was kind of, and it was so it's kind of gotta prove myself. I gotta make sure that people know that I am dedicated to the game. You do the circuits, you run the game, you do the things and stuff like that. And yeah. So
again, it is nice to kind of know that a lot of the people who have been around the speedrunning community for a while and have the world records and the big followings and the whatevers, or even just have been doing this. You don't even need to have a world record. Have been steeped in this very wholesome speedrunning community, and as much as I am constantly living in fear of oh no, they're gonna find out that I'm an idiot.
mhm.
I personally have never had really an issue of somebody just coming out and being like, and what are you doing here? And
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are people who are like that, and you know what those people are? They're the people saying that are jerks, and they don't need to be here. They're the ones who need to prove themselves worthy of the community space, not the people just trying to have fun and play video game.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that, and I think the other issue too is the fact that I am older than most of the, and I don't mean this as an offensive term, if any of them hear this, than the old guard. I am older than Igdices, I'm older than Punchy, I'm older than Maxi, I'm older than Cat, I'm older than a lot of people, and I've been speedrunning a hell of a lot less time than them, and it's kind of like, fuck. Although most people think I'm way younger than I am, which is nice, but ha ha ha. It's still the point of, shit. And, that kind of plays a factor into it where I'm worried, like, man, is that going to come in to think nobody cares about my age? But still, that's kind of in the back of my mind. Nobody's that big of a douche when it comes to that, thank God.
I think also the speedrunning community is exceptionally accepting of runners of all sorts of different ages, because some people, like, did stumble into speedrunning when they were 13, and some people, I didn't start speedrunning until I was in my 20s. Like, people find hobbies at different ages and find time at different ages, and like that is generally pretty accepted as long as like you're a chill person. Nobody's gonna be like, "Ugh, get out of here, boomer." Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, we're all pretty chill, and like it does make for a really interesting community dynamic to have people of all different ages and experience levels, and not always do those line up with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so you spoke on performing in events. What is the event ritual? Do you have one yet, or is it still
Okay,
blind
so
panic run around?
for my first event, and I tried to make this a thing for every event, I got Subway before it because I was so fucking nervous, and I was like, and I bought Subway.
Eat fresh.
Yeah, eat fresh. It was a chicken bacon ranch, I believe, with I forget what the drink was anyway. And I was like, haha, okay, comfort, yay. And then I have never done that since. I have never gotten Subway every event, though at one point from October 6th to November 13th, I was in an event a week. So that would have been a very expensive endeavor. A very expensive endeavor. Usually I show up super fucking early. Like super early. I think most events are like, please show up a half hour early. I'm like, I'm here an hour early. What's up? Because I'm just like, all right, I'm here. Like, I remember a hotfix. I messaged one of the techs and I was like, hey, can I just sit in the green room? And they were like, oh, I was about to message you. And I was like, oh. And it was like, yeah, go into the green room. And I was like, okay, in the green room. And I remember that, fun fact, Char was like, please don't show up early. Just show up on time. Like, she was like, please don't show up early. And I was like, okay, I won't show up early. I will be there when I get called. Okay.
That's such a mood, because I live in infinite fear since AGDQ forgot to ping me.
Yeah.
I would much rather people be early for an event than late, though. Like, oh, what a shame! You're too early for your time slot, so you're just gonna have to sit here and be on call for 15 minutes. What an inconvenience that our runner is already ready to go.
Like, even when I'm just doing hosting for Lady Arcaders or whatever, like, I'm usually the first one there, and it's like, haha.
Yeah, also green rooms are comfy. I like green. It's like one of the few things that like I wish there were more of in in-person events, that there really isn't like as much space to just sit in a quiet corner and chat
Mm-hmm.
while we're all freaking out over run happening soon.
Yeah, so that's
But
kind of the rituals, is to fucking show up super early and be like, hi, and then just kind of chill. And that's kind of like the day of thing. I don't know if the Subway sandwich will ever return, though I don't eat anything outside of chicken anymore until I find a better protein that's not meat. But
You ever tried
yeah,
tofu? It's delicious.
I have, and I suck at preparing it.
That's valid. Tofu is kind of really hit or miss based on whether like how it's made.
Yeah.
So we've talked lots about the community, the greater speedrunning community that exists that encompasses us all.
Mm-hmm.
Who have been your greatest influences
All
in
right.
being a speedrunner?
So I'm going to tie this into an old question that I forgot is not on the list, which is how I got into speedrunning.
How
All
dare
right.
you not put that question on the list that you gave me? I'm going to play host, you messed up.
Okay, so my speedrunning history has been really weird. I remember seeing a 2014 Resident Evil run on GameCube, or was it 2015? I don't remember the year, I don't remember the runner, I just know that it was on GameCube, back when the Steam version still exists, and I was like, oh, this is very cool. I learned a bunch of, like, tricks and stuff, but I never ran RE4, and I didn't speedrun at that point at all, and I thought it was cool. And one of the things about speedrunning is that I thought I could never do it because of my disability, which is cerebral palsy. For anybody that doesn't know, I can't use the right side, I can't use my right arm, and my right leg kind of sucks. But for the most part, I can't do shit with my right arm, or hand for that matter, so I play all of my games with my left hand only, in what I call the spider technique. There's a video, or there's a clip of it on my Twitch channel if you really want to see what that looks like. And then I remember seeing, I think, Pessimism's RE1 run at, I think, 2018. Still not speedrunning, still not really involved in the community, still don't really understand it, and that was it. And then, in 2020, I came across Bach Basu, but I started watching his streams and getting really invested. And this was around the time just before RE3 Remake came out, hence the RE3 Remake speedrun story of like, ooh, plus I beat that game rather quickly, and a ex of mine was like, have you thought about speedrunning? And I was like, no, I don't really know what that is, but no, I haven't really thought. He said, you should give that a shot. And I said, okay. And then I had, again, found Bach, watched Bach streams. I think I sent Bach a DM on Twitter, or not Twitter, on Twitch. He never responded. Granted, the man is a huge streamer, and probably either didn't see it or very busy because he's a huge streamer. Like, I'm very happy to see him have over 2,000 people a stream these days.
Holy, what?
Yeah, although he doesn't do a super amount of stream or speed runs anymore, but I used to watch him all the time, and he is actually how I met Catlink, how I met Maxi, small introduction to Punchy kind of thing, and then I started running myself. I didn't really still watch a lot of speed running. I wasn't really involved in, I kind of lurked for a very long time. So it's thanks to Bach that I'm even involved in speedrunning, period. And he was, so that's an influence for me. And then I did Xenoblade. Didn't really meet anybody in the community for Xenoblade because it also involves Xenogears, Xenosaga, that kind of thing. I never met Pikal in that time frame because I started speedrunning it before she did, but also never really got involved with the community. I knew of Anel, and sometimes, I can never remember how to pronounce their name. I think it's Mitski. Mitski will show up if I run it sometimes, but only like emote, then leave. Evan XC kind of helped me along a bit, but Evan also doesn't stream and is barely around, so, you know, he kind of helped and wasn't really an influence. And then there was the Metroid Fusion time, which is how I know of one of Metroid Crime's friends, Kirby Masta. I never really talked to Kirby. I talked to Hercules Bench Press a lot. He doesn't stream as much anymore, and he also doesn't stream Metroid anymore. He's more doing like Pokemon stuff. We don't talk a lot. Sometimes when he shows up, I'm like, holy shit, he's back, because he has a life kind of thing. But eventually I started watching Cat a lot, and eventually we became friends, or at least I think we became friends. And again, she helped me with the Silent Hill 3. She introduced me to Marforia. By the way, when I say that people introduced me to people, I mean they raided into these people. They didn't be like, hey, check it. Like, we didn't talk and they were like, hey, check out my friend. Here's my friend Catlink, or here's my friend Marforia, or here's my friend, or etc. You know,
I'm just
it's
gonna
not.
start introducing you to people that way.
And then, you know, and I consider Marforia a friend. Marforia is episode 13 of season 1, by the way. You know, and again,
This
Kat.
episode going in season 1 or season 2? A fun peel back of the veil.
This is going in season 2.
Wow, I get to be in both seasons. Party.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And then, you know, and I made friends with Aggie and eventually Mikami Hero, and Kat is a huge influence for me. She's a great friend in my opinion. She's helped me so much. As I say, she's the reason any of you know who the fuck I am. Kind of thing. Because Silent Hill 3 was the breaking ground, because that's how I met Umbrella Jill, that's how I met Death Tropes, that's how I met Aaron, that's how I met most of the Silent Hill community, you know? And again, Punchy and I didn't talk till very recently. And Punchy, again, we share a lot of the same speedruns, and again, he's influential in that way. And I've met a lot of friends through speedrunning, and it stems back to Kat. I can't thank her enough for everything, because again, she's the reason any of you fucking know me. She's the reason I've ever been on GDQ in any form or fashion. And she's doing great. There's this speedrunner called Pippi in a top hat. I don't know if you know her.
Don't. I'm sorry. I'm really uneducated.
Again, probably another one of my best friends in the speedrunning. I can't, like, we just clicked so fast after Lady Arcader's Super Showcase. And I didn't even mean to join the post call. And I think that's where we actually, like, met and started talking. I didn't.
Yeah.
That was very unplanned, me showing up. I almost didn't, and I was just like, fuck it, let's go hang out with these people. Because Lady Arcaders was around, but I didn't know about the attract mode thing. I just kind of lurked there, kind of thing. And again, Char, another person I consider a really good friend, and, you know, we've worked together a lot. She kind of got me into Love 3. I haven't started speedrunning it yet, Char, I'm sorry. and stuff like that. And again, Punchy is an influence, because again, I watch him a lot. He's usually on as I'm stopping stream or whatnot. And again, Theater Rhythm Final Barline speedruns were kind of because of him. And, you know, and Shattered Memories was because of him, and Origins was because of him. And so again, some people influence what I run. And Jill was Illbleed, Kat was Silent Hill 3, and stuff like that. And I've made a lot of friends in speed running. I've done a lot of events. It's a shame that the work that Jill and I did is lost to time, because that shit was fantastic, because I commentated for Illbleed, and I'm trying to explain things technically, and it's just like, and it's so comedic because of just how the game functions.
Game is a trip and a half, I will say.
Yeah. Because Pippi
Seen
was
a good
around.
couple runs.
Because Pippi was around when I started learning that game. And then there's Dangerous. Dane and I did the same circuit, if you will, and I had been lurking in his channel, and I think I mentioned that at Horrible Games. And ever since then, we clicked, because I don't think he knew that I was lurking and watching. And then I mentioned that because I was mentioning, I forget what I mentioned. It's in the run itself, which is available on my YouTube channel, as well as the Horrible Games YouTube channel, as well as the Horrible Games Twitch channel. And we clicked, which is how Fashion Police Squad happened, because I was like, so what's going on with the board? And we plotted and took it over. And also, I never played it casually. I started speedrunning it right away. And
Lazy.
we took it over just as his AGDQ run was happening, because it turns out that the moderators hadn't logged in 4 months. And we got it, and it's been a thrill, and he's been fantastic. Also, guest number 5 of season 1. It was great. sometimes I show up in his stream and just to say hello. And I was happy he got into SGDQ, not only as a host, but as a runner. Again, I was very happy that Pippi got in as a host, Dane got in as a host and as a runner, and that Niddle got in as a runner, Goosebumps Dead of Night, Schmumbler got in as a runner, and stuff like that, and it was fantastic. Sorry I missed most of your runs, I know. I'm a terrible human being. And
That's
stuff.
okay, that's what the bots are for.
Fair enough. And stuff like that. And I'm happy to have made friends, and I'm sorry to a lot of friends that I'm not around in a lot of run and for a lot of streams, sleep schedules and shit, and it's really unfortunate. And I'm so proud of a lot of people, and I can't thank a lot of, like, again, I think I've thanked Kat like 8 times in this segment, and it's like, because I really do owe a lot to her. I don't know how to ever repay her for that, and stuff like that. And then we have the mystical friend group with a variety pack, which I still don't know who's all in the friend group. And I know we talked last night about who's in this friend group, and I'm thinking
How exclusive is this club?
it's me, you, and Alice at Wonderland Games. And Alice is fantastic. Alice is another person that I've become really good friends with. You know, we've thrown runs back and forth, and like Sly and Bioshock, and I'm like, hey, you want to teach me Sly? And she's like, sure. And I'm like, cool, kind of thing. Because that's where the Sly runs came from on the list, was Alice and stuff like that. And I wish I could sub to more people, but I don't have the cash flow, and I feel bad and shit. And I'm like, no.
What a mood.
Because I would be subbed to like so many people, and I've made like friends with like Amerlin, which I wasn't expecting, and you know what I mean? It's been a blast, and some people still intimidate me, and it's unfortunate. And maybe they won't intimidate me someday, but it's just because of how big they are in the community, and also how much I'm not in their individual communities. I think that's why I was able to connect with Kat, is because I first ingrained myself in the community, kind of thing, and stuff like that. And you know, yeah, a lot of people influenced me, and I'm grateful for every single one of them. Also, shout out to Metroid Crime, who I met in person, and we both got sick for 2 weeks.
Oh no.
Oh yes, we don't know with what, but we were sick for like 2 weeks in May. We both
Shout
got
out to
something.
Metroid Crime
Yeah.
in general
Yeah.
for all that she does.
Yeah, it's how we met and stuff because of her and stuff like
and
that.
in terms of like, because we both kind of do the event circuit, and I know we both have had those months where it's like, yes, and I'm in 3 events this month and have a million things to do for every single one of them. And like, oh God, how am I prioritizing my life? But like, one of the great things about working and hosting and running for events is that like, you do just kind of bring people with you afterwards. And like, you know, leaving last year, leaving Rejects and Friends, leaving GDQ, like, but you always leave with somebody you weren't expecting, and like bring people with you into the next event and into the next run, the next game, the next category. And like, the little ragtag team of misfits keeps growing until we realize that we're all misfits together, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. And like, again, I don't know how the Zelda community is gonna respond to me when I actually start running those games and stuff like that. I don't know if I'll make friends with Zelda runners. You know, I do follow Mr. Gymnast 86, and I follow a couple of Sonic runners and things like that, but the horror community is kind of where I'm at. Yeah, it's kind of amazing how much I've grown in the last year, because I started running Silent Hill 3 in March, and you know, is what it is.
A lot can change in a year.
Yeah, and so yeah, I gotta give huge shout outs to Bach, to Kat, to Mar, to Niddle. I gotta give shout outs to Schmumbler, Punchy, Techie, Mr. McSqueezy. I gotta give shout outs to Argik, who doesn't know me really well. I gotta give shout outs to Dangerous, Zokubun, here's that fun Zokubun story.
Oh.
Our introduction was, "Hi, I'm one of Punchy's moderators, and Silent Hill, so I know Silent Hill 3." Scared the living shit out of me with that statement. And I've since told her about that, and she's like, no, that's not what I meant." And it's like, it was me being excited for it, and I was like, cool. Like, I literally thought, like, she was gonna, like, report back to Punchy, and I was like, oh no, he's gonna know, oh no. It was kind of
Don't
how...
tell the real runners what I'm doing. They'll know I'm an idiot.
Exactly, kind of thing. And I'll be working with Soku in a few weeks because she will be doing commentary for me for the Boston Fund for Gabby moving out of Florida to Boston. So yeah. And then Jill, who has given me the nickname of Abbiescorner, or the Abinator, because she doesn't understand how I do so many runs and so many events, and it's like, because I'm trying to make it. I'm on that partner push without having nearly enough numbers or anything, and I don't know if I'll ever make it, but I'm trying to get that push. I'm trying to get that notoriety and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, numbers in terms of Twitch and stuff like that are so fickle anyway, and like are so much just luck and like being in the right place at the right time. And there's no real way that you can force yourself to be lucky. Just if you gotta be in the right place at the right time, well, then might as well try to be in all the places
yeah.
and see what happens. And even like without, the big numbers. Oh, excuse me, it is late. But even without the like big numbers, that doesn't like mean anybody is more valid as a streamer or a runner than anyone else, in my opinion. Of like, we're all here to have a good time. We're all here to
Yeah.
play video game.
Yeah. And it's just what it is.
This has been a very wholesome podcast. I think
Wholesome podcast.
I think we have succeeded in doing a speed run of podcast, and by speed run I mean one of those slow runs where they try to beat out the slowest run to be the bottom of the leaderboard because we talk a lot, Abby.
Yes, we do.
We're trying to push for bottom time. We got this.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for the opportunity to steal your job and host your podcast for you and ask you all of the questions and playfully mock us both the entire time. I had a great time. I hope you had a great time as well. And
Yes.
now I have to have that moment where I like slip into host voice and go, "Oh, so what's coming next? What is there to advertise?"
Well, you can find me on twitch.tv/Abbiescorner. I stream almost every day, usually for hours at a time. You can find my various YouTube channels at Abbiescorner on YouTube for event runs. Sometimes I do offline speedruns, and that's where I upload them. I also do film commentaries sometimes. Haha. If you want to see every speedrun that I've ever done that's not an event, there's youtube.com/Abbiescorner. What is it again? Let me check this, because I want to make sure that I get it right, so that way y'all know what it is. It is, I believe it's Abbiescorner Archive. Yeah, Abbiescorner Speedrun Archive. There's also the podcast itself.
Oh wow, what's that?
Speedrunners and Coffee, which you can also
Oh.
find on Twitter at, what is the Twitter? Speedrun Coffee, because Speedrunners was too long, or was taken or something. I forget why it's Speedrun, or yeah, it probably would have been too long. You can also find me on Twitter at Abbie_Brander. You can also find me on co-host at Abbiescorner. Yeah, I would and I have an Instagram, but it's just very rarely, and it's movies most of the time, like here's all of these or whatever, nothing really interesting kind of thing. Yeah, so that's where you can find me. I don't know if I'll ever stream on YouTube, probably not, honestly. You never know yet.
The world may never know.
Indeed.
But yeah, thank you so much. And thanks again for letting me steal your chair. It's very comfy.
Yay! Even though I think you actually have a comfier chair.
I do have a very comfy chair. Listen, I have severe back problems. I better have a very comfy chair.
Haha.
But is there anything else I'm missing to end out the show, Abby? A wise one.
Well, there was one thing that you miss. If you could create a game from an entirely different genre and add it to your favorite series.
Oh, that's true. You've asked yourself a question. Can you answer it?
God, what would I add to a game?
It's a hard question.
Indeed. Fuck, what? I can't think of it. Oh god. Shit. I don't know. I don't know to save my life.
You've asked yourself a question that you cannot answer.
Correct. Because I'm like, what would I add? Because the favorite series is Resident Evil, but what would I throw on it?
We're looking for a DDR-style rhythm game of Resident Evil. It'll be really out of character for all the protagonists, but that's what my personal vote is for the new Resident Evil game.
Resident Evil rhythm game doesn't sound that bad.
Called Rhythm Evil.
Rhythm Evil.
I don't think that really works, but you know what? We're gonna go with it. It's like an arcade cabinet with a dance pad, but it also has the little pull-out guns. Yeah.
Okay.
This is my game I've designed.
Because there is a Resident Evil rail shooter. There are several light gun Resident Evil games.
Exactly. You have to like be shooting the notes while you're dancing. It gets the hands involved. It makes it a much more full body experience.
I see. That sounds. Oh man, that sounds good.
We'll
go with
tell
your
if you're
idea.
just humoring me or not.
I can't think of anything. I can't think anything at all. Oh, and there was also a skip you wished was in a game you run. That's another one you forgot.
This is what I get for going out of order. Hey, what's a skip that you wished was in a game that you run? This is a very original question that's never been thought of before.
Let's see. Cutscene skip in Shattered Memories would be nice. I'd also like let me think here as I look through the games that I run again. Yeah, cutscene skip would be a good one so that it doesn't last too long, because some cutscenes in Shattered Memories are unskippable and it's kind of dumb to me. Also, I would change the way that you skip cutscenes in Shattered Memories just to make it a little faster. I would also like Back in Time in Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword HD would be nice.
Yeah, to be clear, we do have Back in Time in Skyward Sword SD, which is why SD is the superior version at hair flip.
Yeah, but I can't physically play it, so I can't do that.
It would be great to have Back in Time in HD so that the HD players can also experience the glory that is playing the game on the title screen.
Yes, but it would also have to have a caveat of working on controller, on Pro Controller.
I mean, so if it actually worked, it would work with button controls. Based on how the glitch functions internally,
Okay.
there would be no reason why it would need to be done with motion control if it worked. And someday, we're gonna crack it. And by we, I mean other people, because I play SD.
Also, the car section at the end of Mission 10 in Fashion Police Squad, we figured out how to skip 2 of the auto scrollers, because there's a part in Fashion Police, there's 2 parts where you have to use a sniper rifle to stop fashion criminals from ruining the big fashion show. We figured out how to skip both of those, but then there's a car section that we haven't figured out how to skip, and it'd be cool if we could figure out how to skip it, because that would save 3 minutes of time.
3 minutes of time save is not much to scoff at.
Indeed, yeah, and so that is one that would be nice. If I could see Silent Hill 3, I can't say. I mean, because there are tons of glitches. I just don't do the glitch category. Silent Hill 2, If we could figure out how to skip light bulb, that would be cool, but it crashes the game. For those that don't know, you can glitch in the hotel and do the bottom half first, and then do the top half and skip some of the top half. But you need to put the light bulb in the socket and open the can of light bulbs, otherwise the game crashes.
There's
Even
light
though you
bulbs
have...
in a can?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I definitely had heard this information before, but I'm still upset. Do not can your light bulb. What? Why
Yes.
would you do that?
I don't know, but you need a can opener to open it, and
What?
yeah.
I don't like this idea. Can openers are sharp and light bulbs are glass.
Yes.
Whose idea was this?
Team Silent in 2000/2001.
Being silent in 2000/2001, I have some questions. I'm
Mm-hmm.
addressing a letter to the past, but it'll get there because, again, back in time. Anyway, uh, but
Yeah.
yes, there's an itinerary of glitches to be found, of skips to be found. They don't have to be
Yes.
glitches. They just should be, because glitches are entertaining.
Yes. Oh, and I also have to say Cheese. I gotta give a shout out to Cheese05, the Super Mario 64 runner. His content is fucking fabulous. Oh, and I gotta give a shout out to Oats and Goats, because Oats and Goats was another influence. Because Oats was really good and was the reason I started running Metroid for a bit. There were reasons I stopped, but Oats, excellent Super Metroid runner. He's done Fusion and Dread as well, but he's primarily Super Metroid and phenomenal. He was at SGDQ last year doing Kaizo or Impossible, and it was phenomenal and was one of the runs that I caught last year. And yeah, he's super great. Again, I've never talked to him either, but like fucking phenomenal.
Someday, you just you need an equally long itinerary for who you need to chill and chat with.
Yeah, yeah.
Or in the words of my sibling, that this is a very nice tie-in to speedrunners and coffee. Who you need to buy coffee for, so they will instantly be your bestie, because that's how people work. I don't it's been working out for me quite as intended, but if anybody wants coffee, I'll purchase it for you. I wanna see what happens.
Mhm. Yeah, and all that stuff. And of course, I have to give a huge shout out to Miss Pippi in a top hat, because Pippi did this show as the host. She took over, and it was like, Sacre bleu, c'est impossible.
I have performed a coup, and now that I have successfully performed a coup, I actually have somewhere to be. So I'm going to de-coup. I'm gonna be de-cooing and wrapping the show up and dusting it off and giving it a little pat pat and putting it back where I found it, because I do not have the let's be real, the emotional fortitude to reach out to people to be on a podcast. Hey, I didn't have to reach out to Abbie to do this. How on earth do you survive? That sounds so scary. What if they don't respond?
Sometimes you just gotta go with the flow, and sometimes you gotta poke people, and it's like, yeah, and some people say no, and that's okay, and stuff like that, or people get way too busy that they just can't find the time.
That's valid, but it sounds like a very scary process, and I give you all the credit, and shout outs to Abbie for bringing us speedruns and coffee. Yeah?
You're welcome.
Well, I think we can probably meme all night, but
Yes, we've done it
we should probably,
before.
yes. We should probably let the viewers get back to their the viewers and listeners get back to their daily lives. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Speedrunners and Coffee. We did talk about a lot of speedruns, a lot of speedrunners, and a lot of coffee. Thank you once again, Abbie, for having me. I've been Pippi in a top hat, and I will now poof to the ether.
Bye